Spoiler alert, this is going to be the long version of the story about the commander's shot timer. I've got a shorter version to help a Dallas Pistol Club range officer who may have this shot timer thrust in their hands and said, hey, start using this little puppy here and so forth like that. But for those that really do appreciate too much information overload and whatnot, I'm going to cover a lot of stuff here that I've glossed over in other videos and so forth. So get some popcorn, sit down, we'll do a little binge watching on this video. Okay, so you're looking at this commander shot timer, and in other videos I show the cost and lead time in getting it. So when you finally got your shot timer, let's take advantage of using it. A little brief orientation. On the top here, two buttons. On the left is the power button. Simple tap on that, and then the go for setting the beep off. Got your display screen right here. On the left, you got M for menu, and you have a left and right pointing arrows. And we'll use the M button to navigate through the menu, as well as the left and right arrows to move up and down on a particular screen that you may be working at. This small, that I've got pointed out right here, this small little hole that you can see there, that's the microphone. So that'll come into play when we're trying to block any sound, an excess shot, not so much an excess shot, but a spurious signal coming through and whatnot. Anyway, and this is the speaker down here. Before you get started, if you haven't done so already, you might have to peel off this silicone skin here, and that'll give us access to the back of the device. Fits very tightly, provides a nice tactile feel for the timer, and it just sort of peels off. I got it on, so we'll try to peel it off without tearing up the silicone skin. It seems pretty good. There we go. Okay. So anyway, we've got the back of the timer exposed here. Slip the little latch here. There we go. And you pop the cover, and voila, the usual batteries, pop them in, and you'll be good to go. Close the latch. There we go. In the interest of time, I'm not going to put it back in the skin, but this silicone skin here is very nice. It provides a way to hold it if you're going to do that in your hand. Nice tactile feel. Hot, sweaty day, you got palms sweating, and you've got the the timer nicely secured here. They got access on the top and on the front to all the buttons, and you're all set. And they also provide a lanyard, which is very nice. Along with a couple small carabiners, so you can hang it around your neck. Makes it very easy. It hangs upside down. You might think, oh, that's kind of weird. Well, no, because if you think about it, when you're got it hanging around your neck and then you just lift it up in front of your face, the LED screen and the buttons are all facing you, which is very nice. So I kind of like that. Also, in a video that I will reference down below, you can look at some other ways to carry the shot timer on your belt, either your gun belt or the pants belt, what have you, much like we do our mobile phones nowadays. So that's pretty neat deal if you want to carry the shot timer that way, less carrying it in your hand. I really would recommend getting the silicone skin because it just is a more secure way to hold this shot timer. Okay, let's get started and turn the timer on. Just a simple little press of the button here on top, and a little focus here. Okay, just gave it a little tap, and you can feel it click, and the shot timer is turned on. Now, as I said in my short version video, if you're starting a match and this is the first stage and so forth, you as the range officer want to check the key settings on this to make sure that the timer is going to operate. In the case of the Dallas Pistol Club, one timer could go through the hands of 16 different range officers because of the matches we have almost every Saturday and Sunday. So who knows what the previous range officer did or did not do with the timer, and you want to make sure that everything's all set. Okay, let's hit the M for menu button. Oh, wait a minute. Before I get off of this, let me point out a few of the displays here. try to keep it focused in the camera. On the far left here, you can see shot number 1. That'll give you the time it took from when the timer went off before the first shot. Here in the middle, it's showing 0 because it's not recording any shots, but as you start the shots, start the shooting, it'll start indenting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so forth like that. And here it'll show the split time from your last shot to the previous shot. Now, if you want to know more about your split times, just lightly tap once the M for menu button, and you'll go to this screen. And I'll go back to this after we create some dummy shot times and the information's filled in. When you're running a match and you're just trying to get one shooter after another through there, we're really not too interested in the split times during the course of the match, but later on, as I understand it, this will be posted on Practice Score, and I'll talk to you more about that. Okay, let's press and hold the menu button to go more into the menu system. There we go. Now, here we have 5 presets. What this means is you can set up all sorts of different combinations of sensitivity levels, beep, all sorts of different information that I'll get into, and have them set up so for your convenience you can go by navigating, or I'll just press. Do you notice the right pointing arrow here? I'm going to press the left button and see I'm going back up. So by navigating on this particular screen, by pressing the right pointing arrow, I'm going down, and pressing the left, I go back up. So you can go up here and make preset 1 be a certain combination of the sensitivity level, the beep level, whether it's on instant or delayed, and I'll get into that menu system. And then you can have another setting completely different from the first preset, and the second is different from the third, and the third's different from the fourth and the fifth. So you can have 5 different presets. But as I said, if this timer is being handled by multiple range officers, they may think that they've got a certain preset on one that's going to work for them, but the previous range officer changed it, and he's got a preset on it that's more like preset 2. So I'm not sure when multiple range officers are using this how helpful the preset, but you've got that option, so you might want to consider trying it out. All right, let's move on. M for menu. Okay, here we have the sensitivity level. Now, I've got a separate video that demonstrates for a .22 caliber rifle as well as a 9mm pistol different sensitivity levels, and that how far you can be away from the timer with the microphone facing the shooter and walking closer and closer and closer so you can see when it starts registering shots. Now, the user manual, and let me take just a moment to mention the user manual. Here's the cover page. It comes from amg-lab, and I'll give you a reference to the website so you can download the PDF and get a lot more the same information in print. Anyway, back to the test in a separate video. I'm trying to orient this so you don't get the glare on the screen. Anyway, okay, so level sensitivity. If you'll also watch on the amg-lab website, they also demonstrate with this timer facing away from the firearm, they use different firearms, including an airsoft, showing that when the timer is within 5 to 6 feet, that's what it's recommended. You don't have to hover as you might with some other brands of timers that close, but within 5 to 6 feet. And as I demonstrated in the video, the closer you get, the better it's picking up the shots. Now, in the case of the 9mm, it worked just fine with a setting of 5 here. I suspect when you're using a centerfire rifle or a shotgun, 5 is going to probably work well. So you'll just have to maybe do a little testing on your own. But if you want a starting point for centerfire firearms of any type, I would say try a 5. And when you go to the rimfire, I did a test with 8, seemed to be the best number. The reason 5 and 8 seemed to work well is even though I was very close when I was clearing the action, such as when you finish the stage and the range officer's having the shooter clear the action, it wasn't picking up the noise of the bolt and the slide coming back and forth and so forth like that. Now you can mitigate that obviously by turning the shot timer away from the shooter. If you got to run your lanyard, obviously you can't turn it away too far. But in any case, consider if you're holding it in your hand, turning the shot timer away from the shooter and holding it at arm's length. That should mitigate or minimize the chance that false noises will activate the shot timer. Also, just, hey, put your thumb over the microphone here. That's the small holes. You might see them a little clearer than when it was in the screen. Just put your finger over the microphone there, and that might have something to do with preventing false shot times from occurring. Anyway, so here we got the sensitivity, and this is the issue that I'm trying to enlighten you, that if you have the presets set up, it may not work because you didn't check and you thought preset 1 was level 5 when really it was preset number 2 or 3 or 4 or 5. So work on that. Okay, M for menu again. Okay, this goes to the start time, and if you'll see through the screen there, you'll see the underscore, the underline under the word delay in the upper right hand corner there. Now, if you're of a mind, or the match or association rules that you shoot under needs to have the range officer have this on instant, we know what that is. When you press the go button, instantly the timer is going to go off. Okay? Now, there may be circumstances or maybe a situation where you prefer to have it on delay. So hit the right pointing arrow and you can see that delay is set up. Let me explain how the delay works here. The delay, when the timer does go off, is a function of the total of the fixed, can you see the word fixed there? And random time. It's the total of the fixed and the random. The fixed time is that amount of time from when you press the go button before the random time would start. In this case, I've got it set up for 2.00 or 2 seconds. In other words, when I press and say, "Are you ready? Stand by." If on the word stand by, I press the go button. The timer will then go through a 2-second countdown. Then, within the next 2 seconds, for a total of 4, within the next 2 seconds, the timer's going to go off. So I've affected a delay here that this timer is going to go off at some point, I don't know when, and neither does the shooter, of between 2 and 4 seconds. Now, I believe one or more shooting associations, or maybe your club or match, likes to have the timer go off. In the past, you only had a choice of instant. So when you said stand by and hit the go button, mentally you're going 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, 4 Mississippi, trying to mentally judge so many seconds before you hit the go button there. Okay, if you want to do that, that's fine. If you have a situation where delay would work much better, such as a very competitive situation with very, very competitive shooters, also known as gamers, they tend to listen very closely to the cadence and speech patterns of the range officers, and they try to anticipate trying to get that advantage of a couple of tenths of a second to start moving. Yeah, I know that there are rules and you're supposed to penalize the shooter and all like that, but in the hustle and bustle of what's going on, and it's a little hard to say, hey, you jumped the gun, here's your penalty, etc., etc. So why not let the timer do the work for you? Now, this might work except for a situation such as we have in our club where we have some seasoned citizens who are hearing impaired. So if you're on delay and you as the range officer don't know when the timer is going to go off, what we've been doing in the past is we'll have our timers on instant. And since the range officer knows that the timer is on instant, when they press the go button on these other brands, that simultaneously they will tap this hearing impaired shooter on the shoulder. So that's something you might have to adjust where, yeah, everybody's on delay. Again, right pointing goes over here to delay, something suitable, whatever you want. You may want a fixed of 0, which means that the timer starts counting down in a random number of seconds from almost 0 to 4 or 5, whatever your delay is. Anyway, so instead of having delay for the hearing impaired shooter, you're on instant and you nudge them on the shoulder so that they can start shooting. Obviously, there's a little disadvantage for them because you're reacting to the timer as well as hitting them, tapping them on the shoulder to get them off and going. So work something out as far as instant delay and choose what's appropriate for you. Okay, M for menu, let's move on. Okay, let me see if I can do that. Okay, I'm on delay here. And okay, I'm changing the time. I didn't mean to do that, but you get the idea. Left decreases. Can you see it dropping down to 1.6? And right click, I'm up to where I started, 2.0. Okay, hitting the M for menu button. And again, do you notice the right pointing arrow just to the left of the letter R? That means I could use the left or right arrow to increase or decrease the number of seconds in the random amount of time. And if I haven't mentioned it before, that's how you do it. You use the M to move the right pointing arrow to a certain position on the LED screen, and then the left and right arrows to increase or decrease the value that you're looking at there. Okay, now that we got it to random, I can, I'll just hit M for random. Here we go. Now we get into part times. Okay, currently this is set up to have 3 part times. You can have a maximum of that. If you don't want to have part times, then you want to change this so it reads 0 for all 3 part times. If you have more than 3 part times for a particular stage, you're either going to have to do a reset on one of these or get yourself another timer. Recently we had a case of 3 part times, or was it? I think it was 4 part times in a given stage, and essentially we didn't have this timer in use. We got other timers and set them up for different part times. So the range officer just picked up one timer for 1 part time and another timer for a 2nd part time, and then a 3rd part time. A little complicated. We had an abundance of timers to do this, but it was just easier than changing the part times on the particular timers, the brands we're using. Let's see if I can do this correctly here. It's currently showing a count of 3. So I'm going to, since can you see the right pointing arrow to the left of the letter C, Charlie, there at the top? Let's see what happens when I press the left pointing arrow. Okay, that's off. I've decreased it. I decreased it to off for the 2nd part time and once more for that. So I've turned off all the part time. So unless you're using part time on a given stage, you want to be sure that it's turned off in all 3 situations here. Okay, M for menu. And here we go to echo delay. Echo delay is a feature on the timer primarily where you're going to have an echo situation, more than likely an indoor range, where the sound of the shot bounces off the walls and come back and gets picked up by the timer. In our outdoor shooting situation, 10 is going to work just fine. The user manual suggested you might have to put it up to as much as 13. Again, right click increases the echo delay value and left arrow decreases it. I think you're getting the idea. M for menu to move through the menu, left and right arrows to increase and decrease. How are we doing there on time? Okay, let's keep going and get to the beep volume. I think in an outdoor situation, you'll probably have the maximum beep volume possible. If you're in another situation, maybe you're doing some dry fire practice in your apartment. Remember to triple check and have no ammunition in the location where you're doing your dry fire. We wouldn't want to be shooting through the walls to your apartment neighbor. Anyway, you might want to have it down to the lowest level there so it doesn't frazzle your eardrums there when you're just doing a dry fire or maybe some other situation where a lower volume seems to be appropriate. Probably for grins, we'll have the highest volume using in our matches to make sure, because we're outdoors and a lot of the shooters wear double ear protection. They're wearing earmuffs as well as ear plugs. So we have that to deal with there. Okay, moving on. Okay, we're back to here. All right, so we've gone over and just quick review, my pointing here to the speaker, and here's the microphone, the 4 little holes here, the right and left pointing arrows, M for menu. You've got the screen up here. Let's see what happens. I'm going to try to simulate by rapping on the desk here some a stage and create some shots and just see so you can see what happens. Okay, make ready. Are you ready? Stand by. Well, I don't know about you, but I certainly heard the timer going off. So something's going on, and I need to fix it because it didn't record any shot times. Also, it was on delay. Do you see that countdown happening there? So let's press and hold and get into the menu, and we'll move through. All right, we have sensitivity level 5. So as you can see, banging on this desk here with the letter opener wasn't good enough. So I'm just going to arbitrarily crank it up here to 10. I was told by the manufacturer, and by the way, here's a link below in the description to their website. They do have a contact form there, so if you need some support, that I found them to be very responsive and informative when I had questions that weren't covered in the user manual, and I was stumbling around trying to figure this out. And they said at setting level number 10, that's so sensitive that maybe a loud voice might record as a shot time. So you probably want to avoid a 10 or maybe a 9. So test it out. But in any case, we've got this cranked up to 10 just to see if we can record the shot times of the letter opener banging on the desk. Okay, I've got it on delay, and I really want to have it on instant. So let's switch it over here to instant. Okay. No part-time, not a worry. No change here in the echo. That's not an issue even at the office here. I'm going to keep it at I'm going to crank it down one level there so you can have a comparison. And here we go. Make ready. Are you ready? Stand by. Okay, for our little demonstration for this particular shooter, we've got a time of 5.96, 5.96. Now, if we can show it here good enough, if you'll notice over here on the far left of the screen, and this is explained further in the user guide, for the first shot, it took me 2.17 before the first shot was recorded. In the middle here, you've got the number 7. That tells you how many shots you got. And then over here, you've got the split time between the last shot and the shot before. Now, if you want to review this quickly, and I don't think you'll be doing this at a match and all, but if you're using this as an individual, this may be more important for you. Let's see what happens when I press the left arrow here. See 7 of 7 there, and then it's decrementing. It's going back, showing you this shot time information. And we're back here to 1, and you crank it up. So, and this happens occasionally. Let's say there's a disagreement between the shooter and the range officer of how many shots did you fire. Well, when you count all the shot holes, you find that there are only 6 shot holes, no misses or malfunctions or anything like that. So possibly the last shot, number 7 here, was some malfunction on picking up the action when you're clearing the gun. Some other ambient noise happened to trigger that. You didn't have your thumb over the microphone, whatever the case may be. And you want to give the shooter the benefit of the doubt, so pressing the left arrow here so you can see the chime. So instead of being 5, 9, or 6 for their last shot, they'll get credit for 5, 3, 4 for their last shot. This can be pretty significant. Now, a word about recording the shot times. In a separate video, I've got it demonstrated. And one of the neat features of this shot timer compared to any other that I know that's on the market, when you got into the point of if you're finished, unload, show clear, slide, hammer, holster, when the shooter is done, or maybe slightly before that, the range officer can give some sign, a gesture, holding this timer up, facing the range officer so that there's no doubt of the microphone being away from the shooter and whatnot like that. The range officer doesn't have to say anything to the scorekeeper if they're using a tablet, a device that has previously been linked up with this timer, and I've got a video showing the demonstration on that. So if this is sort of a surprise to you, yeah, I think it's really neat that with Bluetooth technology and this timer, Bluetooth connected to your device, your tablet, maybe a mobile phone, you don't have to say anything. All the scorekeeper needs to do is press the button icon on the tablet, and this time will be picked up, 5:34. So you don't have to be yelling over the noise of going on that may be on or about that particular stage of the range, or planes flying overhead, in our case at the Dallas Pistol Club. You just press the button as a scorekeeper. So the range officer doesn't have to concern themselves as much with conveying and holding the timer up, and we do all sorts of things. And in an outdoor setting, we've had problems. Oh, dear me, I'm out of focus here. Okay, let me see if I can get this back in focus. There we go. We've had problems where literally the glare of the sun on the screen here, and this screen and these numbers are much larger than you see on other brands. And so it makes it a lot easier to read. But with the other timers, the font, the numerals were so small, it was very difficult, and the glare made it a real challenge to see the time on the timer and then record it properly on the tablet. Here, you eliminate a lot of that problem, so watch the video and get the demonstration. Now, you still have to go forward and score and paste your A's and B's and Charlie hits, as well as numerical values and that sort of thing. But it's kind of neat not having to mess with the time as much, and you'll probably work out some method till you get some level of confidence that in fact that the tablet is picking up the correct time from the timer here. So we get 5:34, or maybe it was really 5:09 or 6, whatever the case may be. All right, I think, let's see, this is more than 20 minutes here, but like I said, this is a very extensive review as to what's going on and so forth. Now, for the next shooter, we just leave the time here, and we're good to go. So it's make ready, are you ready, stand by. So did you see, shooter, if you're finished, unload, show, clear, slide, hammer, holster. Okay. So as you saw in the second demonstration with the second string, or maybe another shooter, you don't have to do anything. You just leave it the way it's set up and just press the go button, and the timer starts all over again. And so we have a new shot time of 6 shots here in 5:18. You give your high sign to the scorekeeper, and they put that on the tablet, and you move on to the next string or the next shooter, and you're all set there. So you're good to go. All right, at some point, we need to wrap this up. My voice is getting tired, and your ears are probably worn off by right now, but thanks for sticking with it. Again, this is the video to show you anything and everything I can about this shot timer. If there's something that I didn't cover and all, don't contact me. Contact amg-lab and say, hey, there was this dude on the Seasoned Citizen on the YouTube there talking about the timer, and I'm confused what he said, and I looked at your user guide, so tell me what I'm really supposed to be doing with this timer, and let's make it right, and all that sort of stuff. So check out amg-lab, and I'm sure that they will be as informative and helpful to you as they were for me, and all that sort of stuff. And again, if you have any questions and all, start off by looking at their user guide, which you can get off of their website, and I downloaded their PDF, and they've got pictures and more description, and if it's not enough, go ahead and contact them, and you'll be all set. So you come back here to your timer, and you're ready to move on to your, whoa, what happened here? My timer went off. Oh, I got dead batteries. No. Not a problem. The timers, when they come out of from the manufacturer, are set up so that if they record no activity for 15 minutes, they'll automatically turn themselves off. Kind of saves your batteries. That's kind of nice. Okay, and so nothing wrong here. Let's just turn it back on again. Okay. And I kind of like this 15-minute shut-off, because I don't know about you, at the end of the match and so forth, don't we just kind of throw our timers in our gear bag or the locker at the clubhouse and that sort of thing, and head on to the house and that sort of stuff? Well, instead of running your batteries down after 15 minutes, and yes, you can change the settings. And speaking about that, let me point out a couple of advanced settings. I don't know how much use you're going to have for it, but it's kind of nice to know, and it's described in the user manual. So let me go ahead and demonstrate. Press and hold here, and that does turn your timer off. So when you're all finished, just press and hold the power button until the screen goes dark. Now, there are two advanced settings you can get into. What you want to do is press and hold the left pointing arrow at the same time you are pressing the power button on. And in this case, it displays information about the serial number. You can see that big number down there, 89er19er, and that's the number that's going to appear along with a little prompt when you're making a connection of the timer to the tablet that you're going to be using, and also maybe for your inventory purposes, keeping track of the timers. It's got a serial number. Okay, we'll just turn this off. At least I think I am. Okay, let's see. There we go. Had to go through the menu. There we go. Turn the timer off. Just press and hold. A second advanced setting is to press and hold the M for menu button here. At the same time, you're turning on the power button. And you get these settings right here. And I'll try to get it so you don't have any glare. It's a little hard here, but I think you get the idea. And you want to have a certain setting set up here by the factory of beep target, but also, let's see, I believe they said it was 1. Don't count me. I'll put it down there in the remarks what the number's supposed to be. This is an early version that came from the factory, and I don't believe it has the right setting here. But more importantly, the second one there is shut down delivery. Right now it says 1.5. If you want to change to something different than a 15-minute no recording activity automatic shutdown, go ahead and fix that. You know, maybe you're involved between stages and you need more time, or you need less time. You have to reset something up for the match and so forth. And then there's some other settings that I don't know much about. One's battery volts, so okay, that's good to know. Anyway, that's all there is to it as far as the advanced settings. Was the left pointing arrow or the M for menu button. Press and hold either one at the same time that you're hitting the power button, and you get to these advanced settings. I'm not even sure there's much use for that, but it's kind of nice to know. All right, let's see if I can't exit out of this. Nope, it looks like I need to cycle through all these advanced settings. See, I'm just pressing the M for menu button until hey, here we go. I get to something we know about. Oh, I really didn't cover this. This is where the split times are going to show. Let's see if we can't do a quick demo of that. Let's just, okay. Shooter ready, stand by. Okay, got the shot times here and a quick, let's see if we can't get to that real quick. There we go. Just had to, now remember, if you press and hold the M for menu button, you go into the menu and so forth. So it was just a kind of a 2-click thing. You'll have to test it out. Anyway, there are your split times for the shots. You get a whole bunch of split times and you're good to go. So let's turn the device off and say thank you very much for sticking through the long version here of the Commander shot timer. I'm sure this is much more information than you expected.